Hi, I'm Bob Krause. I'm president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and today we're going to talk about male military sexual trauma. It's a hidden topic. Very few people talk about it, but it is a sleeper. 60% of male MST sufferers commit suicide. 60%. And it's a big, big number because there are a lot of MST sufferers that are male in both the veterans community and in the active Army. More so, actually, than there are women. But nobody talks about it because men shut up. But today we found somebody that will talk about it, and that is Mike Evans. Mike is an MST sufferer from 20 years ago, and he just came to the realization that his world was crumbling because of it about 3 years ago, and he's dealt with those demons and he's worked it through. But he can tell you a lot about what goes on with people that are men that have MST. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
what you know about this?
Well, I'm Mike Evans, and I'm a U.S. Army veteran and MST survivor. As Bob had mentioned, just in the past 3 years, I've fully come forward with myself to admit that I am a survivor of MST, but also as I have gone through the process, which I'll talk about here in a minute, I have also started to advocate because I want to reach out specifically to male veterans who have had MST events and who are in a lot of agony as veterans, and I want to let you know that there's a way forward, that there are resources out there. And while the VA has not done the best job, as there is no official recognition of male veterans of MST by the VA, there are some resources, and I want you to reach out because as Bob had mentioned, the suicide rate is currently some 60% amongst male MST survivors. And in all, I join some 10,000 or so from some numbers that the DoD has reported of active duty male sexual assault victims, and upwards of 85 to 90,000 veterans in general who are males who have survived MST events. And this is a very real issue. It's very tough. Now, as Bob had mentioned, for me, it took several years. It took several years to recognize what was going on. And it also took several years just to try to get awarded PTSD, which is the most that you will get from the VA for this, because they will not give you an MST rating. So it took a long time, and it's not an easy subject. And as I've even gotten my ratings, it's still not, you will never overcome the void. And that's okay, because to accept that is to be in part of the recovery process.
So Mike, we're looking at the incidence on male military sexual trauma, and about 13% of the cases are reported. So that means that that number of 10,000 veterans, active duty people that have male MST is probably low by a factor of as much as 10. And likewise, the number of veterans claiming it or being surveyed for it is also low, perhaps by a factor of as much as 10. And if you figure that if you had 90,000 veterans that had MST, male MST, and 60% of them committed suicide, which is what the data indicates, that would be more just from male MST than the nation loses in automobile accidents in any given year. It's a huge number.
It's a very, very big number, and I think it's important to point out again that male veterans are reporting MST at a rate of 15 to 20%, yet they are 6 times more likely to actually carry out a suicide. Not attempt, not think about, but carry through with a suicide. And it is a dangerous cocktail that's brewing for our veterans, for our active service members. And I've got to just briefly comment, I've met several service members, some who are still serving in National Guard, some who are still in the military. And for male active duty members who have encountered an MST event, the support structure is not 100% there. I would say at best maybe 50% there, and that's being very gracious. They're not getting the support that they need. Oftentimes they're laughed away, and it's just very complicated for them to seek out the resources that they really need and have earned through just their service. So I think that's an important aspect to point out in the active duty.
Yeah, and I think that we need to, for our listeners, we need to think about PTSD and male MST kind of in the same envelope. Now, the symptoms of combat PTSD are anxiety, paranoia, loss of filters, explosive, migraine headaches. A lot of the things associated with conventional combat PTSD are also associated with male MST. And that is the link. Physiologically, the events are almost identical in how they behave in the body. And we know through scientific studies what that does to people that have PTSD or MST. Their family structures tend to break down. They tend to turn homeless. A lot of them wind up on the streets, and a lot of them commit suicide. And you know, I hate to say it, but I think your 50% support by VA is very optimistic. You know, we don't honor MST as a disability yet for males.
Correct.
We do honor it for women, but we don't honor it for men. Why is that? Doesn't make any sense. There are no male MST groups that you can be assigned to. It's just kind of voluntary. There's a lot of problems. What do you see as the direction we need to go with this, Mike?
Well, I just want to comment briefly on the PTSD part. And for myself, there are a lot of similarities. I don't have a brain trauma, but I have some of the symptoms include headaches. I constantly have a migraine for the last 6 months to 8 months because I've had to talk about this so many times in appointments with the PA as I was getting ready for the PTSD. It consumes you, and you can't, it's hard to shut it off sometimes, and it just stresses you out. So you do have the headaches, you have the anxiety in different settings. It's very tough for me if I'm around a group of, I guess, males who are acting a little bit rowdy or who I don't know. I will be very close to the door. I would be very close with, if I come with a person that, to an event that I'm close with, I'm always ready to get out of there fast. And then the other thing for me are nightmares. Nightmares reoccurring constantly, sometimes multiple times a night. And they manifest themselves into other situations, and before you know it, everything becomes a nightmare. So there are a lot of similarities, and I appreciate the PTSD rating from the VA, and but still there needs to be a unique signature for you with the MST, and if it is a problem where you feel uncomfortable getting that, then yes, the PTSD is an appropriate fit, but it should be clearly labeled post-traumatic stress syndrome, military sexual trauma. And again, on those numbers, I would say yes, I'm being gracious, but I'm trying to offer some optimism out there for these guys that are suffering.
So, folks, if when you watch this and you think about it, think about you, think about a friend, think about a family member that is going through something like this. A lot of these folks are not even eligible for VA support because bad conduct discharges would often follow strange events in the military. And so you've got people out there that some of them may be eligible for help, a lot of them may not be eligible for help. They're out drifting. Get them to watch this video if you get a chance. Have them contact us with what they think, where they're at. Not saying that we can help, but we need to have those people with us if we're going to build this thing to some kind of a resolution where we can get visibility for male military sexual trauma survivors so that they do not commit suicide, so that they can live happy and productive lives. This is Bob Kraus with Mike Evans. I'm with the president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and we wish you a fantastic day. Thank you.
Thank you.